Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. So I'm at the place where I store my summer flowering bulbs, and I wanted to just have a little peek at them, see how they're doing. I dug them up, got them ready for storage about a month ago now, and I like to give the little check on them once in a while, just see how they're doing. And I actually was in here last week, tried to have a quick look at my begonia tubers because someone had asked me some questions about what they should look like. So I tried to do some stuff, but I didn't quite have everything that I needed. And I saw some other things that needed attention. So I've had a chance to get back here now with hopefully everything that I need for this. And I thought I'd bring you along and just have a look at everything that's in here. So I'll insert some shots from the week before. Right now, let's open up the cupboard here and we'll have a look at them. First off, I'll show you, I keep a little thermometer here. It has another part that I have in the storage, which is behind that door. And that just monitors the temperature. And as you can see, it's 15 Celsius in there. It's only 18 in this room. And the lowest it has gotten in the last 24 hours is 14 degrees. The warmest under there is 15. So that's all Celsius. And that tells me that it's just a little bit warm under there, which isn't that odd. We're just getting into our cold weather, so it will get colder under there. So at this point, I'm going to be just trying to keep things as healthy as they can until the temperature drops. As the temperature drops outside, it should get a little bit colder under there. And this is the first time I'll have the thermometer rate like this. Usually I have to open up the door, let some warm air in, and look at a thermometer that's under there. So this should give me a better idea this year how cold it's getting. But usually I think it can get down to around 10 under there. It's not an ideal space, but it's what I have. So now we'll go and look at it. I will bring things out so we can have a better look. And oh god, I wasn't sure if I'd left these here, so I brought more, but that's good. So I've got quite a bit of stuff in there. You can see on that back box, there's the little sensor for the monitor, so it's pretty far back there. This is just under the stairs in a brick building. And this building's like, I don't know, 50, 60 years old, something like that. So it's not the greatest insulation, and it's not insulated off from the heated part of the building. Probably if I insulated some of that, maybe it would be stay a little cooler in here, but wasn't built as a cold storage room. It's just what I use. So in the back there, I believe that back box is Cannas or dahlias. Now I can't remember. I think that's cannas and more cannas, and this box here has dahlias and my begonias. And then I have a couple of pots of spring flowering bulbs that I've just potted up that are sitting here, just waiting. And I have some pots. This has a dahlia in it, and then there's another one underneath there. And it also has a dahlia, and I just cut back the annuals that are in there, so some of them they always kind of grow back a bit, but they don't actually survive. They'll be dead by, April or so when I can get these out of here safely. But so this is one way to store your tubers, is just to leave them in the pot. If you can move the pot somewhere that's not going to get cold. This is actually the most reliable way that I have for doing this. So with these, I'll go through, and like it's pretty dry right now, and I might just sprinkle, and I mean like get my hand dipped in water so it's heavily wet a couple times, just go like this. And that's all I'll do. I'll do that like once a month. And that is my most reliable way of storing the tubers, but that takes a lot of space to do that, so not the best way. So let me pop out this box and the cannas. I know some of the cannas weren't looking healthy, so we'll pop out these boxes of the other stored tubers that aren't in soil and have a look at them. Okay, so like I said, I believe this is the box. Well, I know this is a box that has dahlias and begonias in it. The dahlias, I didn't actually, I was kind of experimenting with these, so I'm not sure that these ones in this box are going to do well, because I was kind of experimenting with a different way of pulling and kind of curing them a little bit and forgot about them. It got pretty cold one night, so they're outside. I'm not sure they're viable. We'll find out in the spring about these ones here, but the begonias are right over here. So I'll throw in some quick shots of how they were a week ago when I looked at them. That's about a month after I'd lifted them and set them to cure, so that should give you a good idea of what they should look like. They had mostly dried back foliage stems on them. One was a little, I had already knocked off the biggest part of it just because it was getting kind of musty. It wasn't looking healthy. So I'd cut off the one bigger stem, but there's a little bit that was still there, a little nub, and I just broke that off last week. The other two were pretty much just dried right out. You could hardly see it, so I took those off then. But we'll pull them out now just so you can kind of have a look at them. And I didn't have enough medium to store them away properly, so I didn't realize that, so I've come with more now, and we'll get them stored properly here. So there's really not much to look at. In fact, these just look like balls of dirt, and that's kind of how I want to leave them. They're a little bit dry. This one's actually just a little bit squishy here. I think what I'm going to do is sprinkle some cinnamon on them. It's an antibacterial, antifungal. This one just seems, this was the one that was getting a little bit musty in the stem, and I cut it off earlier. But I don't know how well you can see they're looking healthy right now, and maybe just they're just a little bit too warm right now. It's hard to tell how solid these ones are because there's so much dirt and root mass on them, but I think that one's good. That one feels good. This one just has this one spot here. You could try cutting it off, but for what it looks like, it doesn't really look super moldy. I think just a little tiny bit soft. I think I'm just going to put some cinnamon on it and make sure I isolate it on the other side of the box from the rest and see how that goes. So for the most part, they're looking really healthy. Just that one, this looks like it has just a little bit, just a tinge soft there. So just want to, I'm just going to sprinkle some cinnamon. Like I said, just a little antibacterial, antifungal kind of thing there. And we'll store this one away from the others. Put it in the far corner. Normally I like to store my bulbs in peat moss or vermiculite. And I don't know if it's if there's really a shortage on those things, or if I'm just going out less and so not seeing them. But to try and get them has just been really difficult. So this year I'm trying cedar pine shavings. These are like what you would put in your, if you had like a pet hamster, gerbil, or whatever, used for bedding for them. And I'm just putting it around the bulb. It's another thing people say they use. I just have never used it before. I'm a little bit concerned about moisture with these, because part of why they're used for bedding is to kind of soak up moisture, we'll call it, from the animals. So I'm worried it's going to take too much moisture out of the bulbs. So I just have a cup of water, and I'm just going to make more of a point this year of just kind of sprinkling moisture in these buckets a little bit. And now I'm a little bit also worried that that's going to open things up to more chances of mold. But that's what I normally do with the vermiculite or the peat moss, is I'll sprinkle some water and if things get too dry. So theoretically it should work the same. So I just want to cover these over. The same if I have these couple dahlias here and they wasn't quite enough for them. in this box. I'm going to try and cover them up too. And, oh, this smells good. Just pack it around them a little bit. Ooh. Okay, so put the label back in there that the dahlia or the begonias had. Dump these wood shavings that I spilt. Okay. So that's all I do really to store these. They'll go back in that coolish space, and I'll check on these. Like I said, about once a month, I'll just have a little peek in the cupboard, sprinkle a little moisture if they seem really dry. If they seem too damp, then I might take out some of this bedding, replace it with dry bedding, depending on how moist it is or what's happening in there. But I want to look at my cannas because I was a little bit concerned at what I was seeing when I poked my head in there, and they might be an instance of too much moisture. I'm not sure yet, so I want to have a better look. So let's put these away and we'll check on those cannas. So here's the cannas, and I don't know how well it'll pick up on the camera, but I can see just the tinge of some mold looking bits on these stems. That's the root there. I just want to pop them out and have a look. I just want to feel this. It doesn't feel damp. It doesn't feel like there's too much moisture in there. It just feels like dry wood shavings. So just have a little look. They look good down here. Oh, they do smell a bit musty though. I like to store them in cardboard boxes, but for some reason I put them in here, these plastic ones. I think because I thought the wood shavings might not hold the moisture the same. But this might be helpful, but definitely dampish at the roots. I'm not seeing any like true, like there's the tiniest bit of what looks like a bit of a white mold on the stems of a couple of these, but no like blue, green, or soft spots. Like, I'm not seeing any real mold issues. I'll tell you, wood shavings seem very messy to deal with. Is that all of them? Okay, so let's get this out of my way. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is just a couple of these stems, really. So I don't know any secateurs, but usually I like to leave the stems on just so they don't dry out completely, but there are a couple. They're just not seeming real healthy, so I'm going to try and cut them back. It's a really nice one beside there and try not to cut. I don't know how well you can see like where it's kind of browning and blackening, but they're still green, and that, like, you're supposed to wait till cannas blacken off completely to store them and dig them, but I find our climate goes so fast from hot to cold that I just I don't get that chance to leave them most years. Last year, I think, oh no, it wasn't, I can't remember. I feel like I've had a year where I got to keep them, but so there, I've just cut the extra stems off, and I mean, they don't have to have long stems left on. That's how I've always done it. I just think it works well, but um, maybe they're just a little bit more moist this year. I can't imagine that with how dry our season was, but maybe it's the wood shavings, just give them a little bit more moisture. So, because I knew that they were looking just a little bit musty when I was in here last week, I actually mixed up a solution. This is a 10% bleach solution. Now, normally I would rather use like rubbing alcohol or something, but again, you can't buy that. I can't find it in a liquid form. I can only find like little swabs of rubbing alcohol these days. So I don't know. I just mixed up a weak bleach solution. I'm going to spray each of these just a tiny bit. I don't really want them sopping wet, just to try and kill off anything that might be left there. And then I'm going to sprinkle some cinnamon on them again and put them back in the bucket. The shavings all look healthy. There doesn't look like there's any fungus or molds or anything growing there. And being that it's cedar and pine, they should be fairly good to not be getting really moldy or anything, I think. So hopefully without bleaching myself, I'm just going to give these a little once over here. Okay. So, and then I'm just going to, like I said, just sprinkle some cinnamon around, and that should help deter, funguses and molds and things a little bit too. I did notice a fungus gnat when I was digging these out was in the wood shavings, so obviously there's something in here they're interested in, so we'll try and get rid of it. I've been saving my bulbs for years, and this is the first year I've had to do this, so I don't know if I'm just feeling a little extra cautious this year for some reason with them. Maybe because I did the video on how to store them, so now I'm a little extra worried, but I don't remember them at this point in the storage. Sometimes by the end of storage, they'll be a little bit kind of have a bit of white tips on them on these, but I've never noticed it this early on, so I just thought I'm going to just get at it right now in case it gets worse. So don't panic if you see a little bit of mold starting, but pay attention to it and get on it if it starts to get worse. And like I said, at the end of the season, like in the last couple of months, sometimes I'll see that, but by then they're going to be coming out soon. It's so little, unless it really started to take off, I wouldn't even worry about it. But because this is only a month into storage and they were doing that, I'm going to try and deter it right now, because I'm thinking a month in, if they do that anymore, it could get pretty bad. So I'm just going to pack them back into the wood chips. Again, like I said in my previous video, just leaving room between each rhizome, so that if one of them does start to rot, then it's not immediately infecting the rest because they're not touching. I don't know how well you got to see these. They're really like the roots have pretty much completely dried up. They'll be even more dry by next year. These roots won't be used next year. They'll grow new ones. And the rhizomes are still solid. Got some newer ones and some older ones. And this is pretty much, with these, this is pretty much what they're going to look like when you pull them out, except just a little more dry. Like they'll be a little more shriveled, a little darker in color usually. But so if they're looking like this, then you're doing all right. Like I said, even this probably was fine, but I just, at this early on, I mean, these will be in here for what, like 5-6 months yet. So in my climate, that's a long time to just ignore the starting of a little bit of bacteria and fungus growing. So I'm going to pack them back in the box, have a look at the other one, and then get these all put away and tucked away. I'm also going to try and lay them more on their side. Some of these were upright, so I'm going to try and lay them more on their side or upside down so that if there's a lot of moisture in the stems, it's running out away from the rhizome and not into it. I do have a lid for this container if they seem like they're getting too dried out, but at this point I'm just leaving it off because they do seem like they have some moisture in them and I don't want that collecting. Okay, so I'm going to have a quick peek at the other one. This one did have the lid on it, so that'll be interesting to see if it looks any different. So this one, tiny bit of that on it, but this one actually smells fresher than the other one did too. It's just this one little bit here that's looking. I always wind up cleaning the floor after I've been here. That peeling off isn't a big deal. It doesn't smell musty or moldy at all. And I'm actually quite sensitive to that. I can usually smell mold pretty good distance away. So yeah, this one looks really good. So I'm not sure. These ones appear to be more stored on their sides, whereas the other one, for some reason, I had a lot of them upright. I remember when I did these, I was in a bit of a panic to get that job done that day and get my daughter from school. So I wonder if I maybe just quickly threw them in there and thought I'd fix them later and didn't. These ones appear to be on their side. They look a lot healthier. So I think that's the lesson in that is, you know, like I I've said before, lay them on their sides or upside down, and I didn't do that in the other box, and they're starting to get a bit musty. So the cannas I have stored the same as at the beginning of the video you saw. I have a couple of pots of dahlias that I've just left right in the pot. Cannas, you can do the same thing. I think I mentioned that in the other video where I put these away for the fall. The only problem with that is they do grow quickly, so you run the risk of your pots getting split the next season as the rhizomes grow, because they will just keep growing and they can easily split a pot. So that's something to be aware of. But I have stored them successfully, just left them, cut them down, stored them in a cool place out of freezing temperatures. So you can do that for sure as well. I'm going to put these all back in my little storage area. Keep an eye on that temperature gauge there. Hopefully it cools down. Not that I'm a big fan of the cold weather, but the colder it gets outside, the better it is for my bulbs and rhizomes that I have stored here. So I don't know, what do I want? But I'm going to get them put away. And what I'm doing here, once a month I look at my bulbs. I don't normally dig all through them like this. I'll usually just kind of like, yeah, it doesn't smell bad, doesn't look bad. You know, if I can find some at the top, mushy, dig down a bit, or not mushy, you want them solid. You know, just kind of dig around. I don't usually pull them all out like I did that other bucket. I'll just have a quick look, quick smell, a little feel around, and generally, if everything checks out that way, I just stuff them back under the stairs and forget about them for another month. If I see something that just seems a little bit strange, then I will go ahead and pull them out. Sometimes it's just, they just seem like they're really, really dry. And I don't know how to explain that. It's just, you can tell there's the slightest bit of humidity or dampness to this medium. It's harder to tell with the wood chips. I found the vermiculite and the peat moss I could kind of tell, but I've probably just have gotten used to that. And you can just tell these aren't like, if you can dust this off, if they're getting really shriveled up and dry looking, especially if it's early months, then you saw what I did with that 1 cup of water and just kind of give a little sprinkle. And that's all I do. Like, you do not want to take your watering can and pour water in here. So that's really all there is to it. Just check them once a month. And once we're getting towards the end of winter, I'll bring you back and I'll show you what I do with them to get them started for the next season. Okay, so I've got most of my mess cleaned up here, just a couple more items to put away, but all the bulbs, rhizomes, tubers, all that stuff is tucked away in the wood chips and popped back in under the stairs there, again for another month at least. And hopefully this showed you kind of what I'm looking for when I say, you know, check your bulbs once a month. Hopefully that answers any questions you had about what that means. And also to the people that ask questions about the begonias and what you're kind of looking for when they're drying up and shriveling up. Hopefully the few photos and what I showed you here today kind of clears that up for you a little bit. It's a difficult thing to kind of show and explain on video. I feel like it's one of those things you just have to kind of go for it. Just put them away as best you can. Check on them and trust your instincts and just learn from year to year. You know, you might lose some, you might keep them all, you might lose them all, but you won't save any if you don't try. And I think it's worth trying, and you'll probably learn the more years you do it, what works best for your climate and your storage situation. Because it doesn't matter what I tell you and what someone else tells you. We all live in different areas. We all have different situations. So you kind of have to figure out what works best for you. But hopefully this video gives you some suggestions. And if you look back at my other videos about how to store these things, that will also give you a good idea of what you're needing to do. It gives you a starting point. So hopefully you like this video. Hopefully it helped you in some way. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.